Hey everybody, it's Chris Kirkpatrick back here at the BetterWealth Studios with my buddy Caleb Williams with BetterWealth.
It's good to have you back, man.
Thanks. It's good to be here. Good to get out of the chaos every now and then, get up here and get some work done. So, hey, we are talking today about cash flow, the importance of cash flow for entrepreneurs, because listen, there's a lot going on in the world. I think COVID is an example that we don't know what's going on in the world. We don't know what's going to happen. And I always kind of tell people, I think a lot of people get confused by me because of my background and my history in the financial industry. And now that I'm not in it, I still am passionate about it and talk about it simply because of the fact that I think your financial strategy as an entrepreneur is going to dictate the success of your business long term.
Right.
So, and I think a lot of that comes down to thinking about money differently, like the way that classic financial models, financial advisors or consultants or like insurance agents or like anybody out there. Classic advice is not going to serve the entrepreneur. Honestly, I don't think it serves anybody, but especially the entrepreneur. And so what I'd love to talk about with you right now is, that sounds great. Like, well, maybe it sounds bad to some people, but like ultimately, what does that look like? To focus on cash flow. I think a lot of people maybe hear that and it makes sense to them intuitively, but they don't know how to execute on it. Right.
Well, the first thing that we just need to do is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, what does the world say that's super important? Is go get a college degree and all those things. And we know that, Sure. College may be an amazing place to learn, but at the end of the day, your piece of paper is not going to make or break your business.
Totally.
Okay. So whereas if you're going to go the employment route, it may be smart to get a degree or whatever, because that might put you higher on the resume rat race,
sure.
if you want to say, to get that deal done. But an entrepreneur, we got to like understand like what actually pays the bills. That's cash flow. Like if your business does not have cash flow coming in, you will not have a business very long.
Totally.
And so one of the interesting things is when we're talking about financial planning, and I've had the honor to have like the guy that discovered the 401k on my show. I had the Millionaire Next Door author on my show. And like I'm starting to like learn. Like I have Dr. Wade Fowle, who is studying like distribution planning, and that's a fancy word for saying like retirement income planning. And they're all saying the same things. It's like people that are saving and investing and accumulating money for the future, that's fine. But what we need to be focused on is cash flow, because you might be saving money in a 401k, you might be saving money in a Roth IRA, you might be saving money in whatever, but you're saving for a reason to take that out someday. And so what's interesting to me is a lot of entrepreneurs are, number one, not prioritizing having cash flow coming in, but number two, they're taking that cash flow and they're literally putting it in places that aren't helping them create more cash flow now or in the future.
Totally.
Now, if you're an employee and you're making money, you have to ask yourself the question, where's the best place for me to invest my money? And for some people with a 401k match and all that stuff, I could very much say, okay, you should definitely maximize that, because you as a human being, and I don't take this the wrong way, but you as a human being, like there's only so many places that you can put your money that can produce value. And if you're going to put it in the market, a 401k may be an option because you get to take advantage of the match. I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm just saying like this is how we walk through. But when I'm talking to an entrepreneur who's passionate about something, if I'm talking to an entrepreneur that knows how to create cash flow, and we start modeling out, okay, you're taking this cash flow and you're literally putting it to death for the next 40 years. And then you actually show them how, okay, let's assume you grow your money at 8% every single year without a down year. We know that's not even possible in a lot of these vehicles.
It's impossible.
You show them the cash flow, you update that with inflation, and they go, that is not the American dream that I signed up for. So what's interesting, Chris, is just like, I wish people would wake up to the fact that like, we're not going to talk anything about products here. I just want you to understand the end in mind, and cash flow is so much more powerful than accumulation. But Wall Street wants us to accumulate money because that's their way of creating cash flow. Like when we accumulate money, they're creating cash flow off of fees.
Oh, totally. I always tell people like this whole movement to like fiduciary, this whole movement to manage money, to get away from commissions on products. It's all a game. It's all, honestly, in my opinion, a scam that's designing the system to be like an annuitized business for the advisor.
When Ken Fisher's saying that annuities are bad, he's creating an annuity first company.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, we as a company have an RIA. We manage people's money.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, if you're an entrepreneur and you're coming to me, a lot of times it's like, listen, like, you're doing this because that's what gurus are telling you to do. But if you actually model it, you actually look at where the true value is, you're going to realize real quickly that it's like you're doing typical advice and you might get typical response, but an entrepreneur needs, like, they're already thinking different because they're usually creating an unusual revenue stream. And we work with a lot of entrepreneurs that make a lot of money.
Totally.
And it's amazing. And yet with a lot of, what's the Spider-Man quote? With great responsibility.
Yeah. With great gifts come great responsibility.
Something like that. We'll be back on that. So, but that's the reality is like, with great power comes great responsibility. And I really think entrepreneurs have a ton of power in just the ability to create value. And so,
yeah, no, I mean, I think that's 100%. Like, this is the way I look at it is just from, I like to break it down to like the human level and just say, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, pretty much. And so on some level, at least. And so, like, when I look at what my wife and I have gone through over our 18 years of marriage and over the businesses that we built, some of the businesses that have failed, some of that have succeeded. And I look at the mentors I've worked with and looked at some of the businesses that they've built and succeeded and failed. And you look at the common denominator and everything, and like, what is the ultimate foundational component to success? It's like, you got to be passionate about what you're doing. You got to love it. You got to, like, make sure you're 100% in.
Right.
But it's also, you got to make sure that your financial strategy is, and the way you're utilizing money as a tool,
right,
is in alignment with where you want to go. And that's, I think, the biggest problem.
Well, and they have to understand
incongruency.
They have to understand that they're the greatest asset, and they are the derivative that makes everything else possible.
Well, right. And then when you put your money, if you're an entrepreneur and you take your money and you put it in a 401k, a solo 401k, like whatever, like any kind of qualified account, and where most of the traditional advisors are going to have you put your money, you're taking it out of your control. You're taking it out of your business. You're putting it in a place that ultimately is going to do the exact opposite for you. And then when you need it the most, which is going like right now, businesses need it. If you want it or need it, you're paying penalties. You're paying taxes. There's all sorts of things that happen. And if you don't need it now, it's in an account that, where do you think taxes are going? It's going up. Right. Like, so it's going to hurt what your objective is with your business.
It's interesting. Finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
Recently, with all the things that have happened in the economy, the government said, hey, we're going to waive the first 100,000. We're going to waive fees and all these things. And so,
but that's just a penalty.
Well, yes. And you still have to pay taxes and all that stuff. But what's interesting to me is, if they can make that, they just change that quickly. So for me, like, I'm the only person that's saying, hey, everybody, like, that's awesome. And do you know how terrifying that is?
Because they could change it just as quickly the other direction.
Yeah.
100%. And guess what? We're almost $30 trillion in debt.
Yeah. I haven't seen.
We have hundreds of trillions of dollars of unfunded liabilities.
That's the number why we need to look at, is all the unfunded liabilities that we can't pay for.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs. I'm passionate about, like, the fact that this country was built on small business. It was built on entrepreneurism, right?
Yeah.
And so I just implore everybody who is a business owner, who's an entrepreneur, to really take a look and say, listen, with great power comes that responsibility. And it's kind of on us. Like, I'm a big believer, like, not to get political, but I'm going a little political here, is that we live in an oligarchy right now. We don't have this free democracy. We don't, we can vote and blah, blah, blah. Like, all that's great. But guess what? All the power is from top down. I think this GameStop thing has showed that. I think the way that they're able to manipulate the markets and all that, like, it's kind of been proven at this point in time. And anybody that doesn't want to acknowledge that, you're just lying to yourself, and that's going to cost you a fortune in the long run. And so what I would say is, like, I implore anybody who is a business owner to take a look and say, is what I'm currently doing serving my objectives?
100%.
Is where I'm putting my money, how I'm utilizing money as a tool, because that's
Right.
all it is it helping me make myself a better asset? Is
Totally.
it helping my business be more stable, have more security, have more opportunity for growth? Is it, all these things? Am I like, every business is different, but I'll tell you, for me, I'd rather take my money right now and invest in the right technologies, the right human capital, the right people that are going to help create more cash flow. Like, or if there are things that, like what my wife and I do is, like, if there are things that we're in a space where I don't have that, if I'm going to invest something, I'm going to put it into something like real estate or something where I know it'll have cash flow. Like,
our business is a great example. I mean, we did well last year. We're on track to double cash flow, which is a huge, but we can do it, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so we're making some 6-figure investments.
Yeah.
And we're making it right back into the business because that is tied to, it's like, it's simple when I'm talking, right? It's like, I'm going to make $100,000 investment and I'm going to increase cash flow by multiple 100,000. Like, that's incredible.
There's no market return that's going to do that for you.
Right.
Ever.
And yet so many people are unable to make that connection with their own self. It's always easy to look at other people and saying, hey, you should do this deal. Totally. But it's like, so many people are devaluing or putting themselves in an ability where they're not able to do that. And it's so clear. And a lot of times you just need to talk to someone that can show you that can help highlight that, because it's just, for some reason, a lot of people have blind spots in their ability and their talent. But I'm a huge fan of maximize cash flow, and the world revolves around cash flow. And regardless of what you invest in, if it's yourself, it's your business, if it's an investment, if it's real estate, measure it on cash flow rather than rate of return, because I'm telling you, 100%. Rate of return means nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's all about how that's translated into cash flow.
Amen. It's one of the things I've been telling people, like with real estate right now, and it's a little bit of a different conversation, but a lot of people are asking me, like, is right now a good time to buy real estate? And I'm like, if you're worried about the market crashing,
probably not.
That's a vibe. Well, but no, I wouldn't even say that. Like, I would say it's why do you want that property?
Yeah.
Right. Are you buying that property for net worth?
Yeah.
Right. Are you buying that property, as an asset, so your net worth is higher on your balance, statement? Or are you buying that property because you want to buy a $200,000 property because it's going to kick out $18,000 or $20,000 a year in cash flow? Right. Like, if the answer is cash flow, then you don't worry about the value of that house, because guess what? I got news for y'all. If real estate crashes, guess what's going to happen? We're going to have a run on foreclosures. There's going to be a mess. And then what's going to happen is the rental market's going to get better. So the housing prices can come down, but guess what? Rental prices will probably go up. That's what happened in 2009. Like, rental prices went up because nobody could get a mortgage. Everybody's renting. There's a shortage on rental property availability. And so prices go up. And so because the economy goes through these like flash crashes, and then it corrects relatively quickly. So if you can withstand like 6 months of having a rental property where it's like uncertain, it's going to get better. And businesses are very much the same way. If you can withstand those flash crashes and you're stable, that's what I talk about it in the Life 180 Pyramid talk all the time. When opportunity goes down for people who are not structured properly because they have to make bad financial decisions, like, that creates more opportunity for the people who are actually structured and prepared for it. So that's, we talk about that a lot in personal finances, but for businesses, it's absolutely the opportunity. Like, how do you think companies like Amazon gobble up companies, their competitors that are like a threat to them? And then because those companies are startup and they're underfunded and all these different things, when the market tanks and they get financial pressure and they become desperate, Amazon just holds out in a spot and they can go in and buy them for 30 cents on the dollar compared to what they get in a good market. Like, it's all structure, and it's all like making sure that you're solvent. Because like, one of my mentors, not to like get crass, when I first started, he's like, make sure you have enough FU money, like, because that way you never have to make a bad decision, and you got to do that with your business too.
I totally agree. So I would say the follow-up, or just the call to action here is start auditing where you're at and audit the streams of cash flow that's coming in. Maybe you're an entrepreneur and have one client. Well, just like audit, like, is that risky or whatever? And so start looking at the money coming in, and then with the money that you already have, where's it going?
Yep.
Are you spending it all? Are you getting crushed on taxes? Where's it going? And then where are you making investments? Because I'm a huge fan that people need to save money. We actually, in another video, can, walk through the actual art and science of how much money you need to save.
Yeah.
But like, you need to save your money. You need to invest it. But the real question is where you're going to invest it. So number one, start analyzing the money coming in. Be really critical about it. How can you optimize it? How can you improve it? And then the money that you're saving and investing, is that thing giving you the outcome that you really want? If you can do those two things, you are going to be more thoughtful than 99% of investors out there who are not really, going back to what Stephen Covey's saying, is seeking with the end in mind. And if that's the case, then people are going to be better off and they're going to be served well.
Well, you're just going to, the results are going to serve your desired outcome.
That's right.
Like much more effectively. So that's it. So I think that's awesome. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, down below in the video or in the description, there's going to be a link. You can click on it. And, if you have any questions, I'm happy to talk to you. There'll be a link to get to me. If you have any questions about your business, if you have any questions about like finance and structure or whatever, you can go talk to Caleb and his team down there, and that'll be great. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you found value in this, because we're creating content like this. We got a whole bunch of videos we're going to have coming out around this topic. And so make sure you click the bell so you get notified every time we release them. So till next time, have a blessed, inspirational day, and we'll talk to you soon.